we're going to talk a little bit about how to write a decimal as a fraction or as a mixed number. So if we're looking at the fractional part of the decimal, so the area to the right of the decimal, we are going to look at what the place value is. So for example, we have 0.35, which is said 35 hundredths because it's in the tenths, hundredths place. So if I said it as a word, I would say 35 hundredths. And since we are dealing with the hundredths place, I'm going to put the 35 over 100. And then as we normally would, we would just reduce the 35 and the 100. In this case, I would divide by 5 because there's a common factor of 5 on top and on bottom, and I get 7/20. For these next questions, we're going to write the decimals as fractions or mixed numbers. Now, by far the easiest way to do this, when you have a number that is greater than 1 or the absolute value is greater than 1. So whenever I have a value to the left of the decimal, it makes more sense for me to write the -9 as a whole number than just put the fractional part of my answer, in this case, again, over 100, because that's tenths and hundredths. Then I would reduce the 35 over 100, and notice this is the same question from the last page that we did. So -9, I would divide by 5 on top, divide by 5 on the bottom, and that would be my new answer. For B, I have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, so -45 over 10,000. Again, I would divide by 5. In this case, I would get a -9 on the top, and you could leave it out front as well. And then 5 goes into 10,000, 2,000 times. Again, if you need to, you would just go off to the side and divide. So you're free to do that for those questions. And for the last one, it would be 5 and 101 over tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So 101 over 1,000. And in this case, there would be no number that goes into 101. If you're not sure, you can say, well, it doesn't use the rule for 2. Remember, the rule for 2 was that it was even. The rule for 3 was that it added up to 3, etc. So remember those division rules that we learned previously. There is another way, of course, to write a decimal as a fraction, especially a decimal that is greater than 1. So previously, we would have written this as 4 and 5/10, because 5 was in the tenths place, and 5 over 10 would then reduce, and that would reduce to 4 and 1/2, because I would have divided by 5 on top and on bottom. The other way, which is not as much fun, is to write the 45 over the 10. Again, I'm still using the 10 because it is in the tenths place, but I'm writing it as 45, in which case then I could divide top and bottom by 5 to get 9 over 2. And then if my answer needed to be in a mixed number form, in this case it says it's an improper fraction, so that's okay. I could leave it as 9/2 if an improper fraction is okay. If it's not, then I would have to take 2 into 9 4 times with 1 left over, which would make it 4.5. So it's the same either way. This, I think, is by far the easiest. Here are 2 questions for you to try on your own, so try them both and then press play to see how you did. The first question is writing the decimal as a mixed number. So if I'm writing it as a mixed number, then I'm going to go ahead and write the 3, and then 492 over tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. And then, of course, I will reduce the 492 over 10,000, and 4 would go into both of those. Again, if you need to, off to the side to divide it out, you could have started by dividing by 2. 4 goes into 4 1 time. 4 goes into 9 2 times, and that's 8. And then 4 goes into 12 3 times, so that's 123. If I divide 10,000 by 4, I get 2,500. And don't forget that we had that 3 in front, and so this would be my answer. To write it as an improper fraction, I would, of course, put the entire value over, again, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, and then reduce what I can. It looks like both of these are even, so I'm going to divide them both in half. If you need to do some long division, If I divide them in half, that means I'm dividing by 2. So 2 goes into 9 4 times. 2 times 4 is 8. The difference is 1. Bring down a 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. Bring down the 0. Put a 0 as a placeholder. I can go ahead on the same step, bring down a 3. 2 goes into 3 1 time, which is 2. I subtract, I get 1. 2 goes into 14 7 times. So I get 45017, 45,017. Over, if I divide 10,000 in half, that's 5,000. And no other values can come out. So as an improper fraction, that would be my solution.